Well, hey there, everybody. Once again, technical difficulties are vexing me to death, but here I am a few minutes late, but that's all right. I'm glad to be here. Several things to talk to you about today. First, let me just say this. My name is Hank Linderman. I'm running for Congress here in Kentucky's 2nd District. I'm at lovely Falls of Rough right now. Let's see if you can get a look. Let's see if I can arrange a look for you. Well, not really. You can kind of see it. But anyway, that's where it is. Glad you all are here. And I'm just now starting up. Oh, Patty is here. I'm so glad Patty Linderman is here. So many things to talk to you about. I think the first thing I want to talk to you about, first of all, yes, I'm the Democratic nominee for Congress. Mark Maselli is here. Patty and Mark, do me a favor and please share. Rich Campbell is here. Rich, please share. Nancy, I'm glad you're here. Do us a favor and share. That really helps. We're hitting 1,000 views for each one of these. Michael Hildreth, I don't recognize your name, Michael, and so I don't think I've seen you here before, so I'm glad you made it. And do us a favor and share the broadcast. And if you've got any questions or comments, go ahead and type them in, and I'll get to any questions that I can deal with. It's Monday the 13th, and as I say, we're running for Congress here in Kentucky's 2nd District. This is just a fascinating time to be part of this election season. Brenda's here. Brenda, please share. Hi, how are you doing, Brenda? And I think Mark Andes is here. Anyway, everybody please share. Guess what I did yesterday? You probably can't guess. You know, we've all been confined to quarters by the virus, but yesterday I got an invite from John Alma Barnett, who's down in... Hi, Jonathan, how are you doing? Glad you're here. Please go ahead and share. I went to Bowling Green. I'd been invited by John Alma to go to a protest or a Voices of the Community event that was held right in Circus Park. Jim Porter's here. Good to see you. Yeah, yes. Jim Porter's here. Jim, do me a favor and share this. California is getting shut down. Mark Andes is here. Anyway, the thing I was going to let you all know about is that I went to this event yesterday in Bowling Green, and it was quite a thing because there were folks out. I think this is the 3rd or 4th week they've done it, and it was based around Black Lives Matter. Hi, Debbie, how are you? And some of the folks who got up to speak were people who were not used to being public speakers, but they were talking about their friends that had gotten killed in altercations with the police. And while they were doing this, hi Kat, I'm glad you're here. Do us a favor and share. While they were discussing their friends that had, hi Beth, how are you? That had been killed in involvement with the police. You know, these were folks who were breaking down, talking about their best friend, one guy had gotten pulled over because his high beams were on, and he was suffering with congestive heart failure and had some confusion. By the time they pulled him over, by the time it was over with, he had died. I don't know if he died in custody or what, but congestive heart failure and just so difficult. Anyway, it was an interesting thing, but the thing that was good about it that I want to tell you is that they had 2 members of the city council sitting there listening respectfully and commenting and taking questions. And Patty Mintner was there, and she's the state house rep, and that was great. And so it was an overall positive evening, but it was very powerful. And I held up my camera and did a Facebook Live thing if you want to get a look at what it feels like. But anyway, that's that. Let's see what we can talk about. The things I was going to talk to you about tonight that unfortunately I can't show you. Oh, yes, Mary, I did get a haircut. I think it looks good. I'm liking it. It's very easy to deal with in the morning. Well, I was going to talk to you about a couple things. One of them is that the Bulwark, which is a very conservative online magazine website, and if you haven't looked into the Bulwark, you really should look into it, even if you're a progressive populist like me. I'm very progressive. I consider myself a progressive populist. And I find myself agreeing with the Bulwark more often. It's almost like we've got this moment going on in our country when conservatives who have let go of President Trump but still are holding on to their conservative principles are lined up a bit with us that are on the left. We have this moment where it feels like there are things we have in common, and this is a great sign for our country. I think it's a very important thing. Anyway, the headline for this, Harry Field is here. How are you doing, Harry? Of course, share if you can click the share button and share it with your friends. Michael Sanders is here. Michael, glad to have you. Please share. Anyway, we're discussing the Bulwark. It's Bulwark, and I think it's either thebulwark.com or Bulwark. If you do a search for him, you'll find him. So the story says, Trump is cornered, here's why. And there's a picture of someone holding up a handmade sign that says, November is coming, and certainly it is. Darren Lowry is here. I'm glad you're here, Darren. Please share. And what they're saying is that the core of Trump's campaign is not about his presidency, it's about race. And Michelle Goldberg says, quote, Trump sees more clearly than most of his party, that racism is the main thing he's got to offer. It's the main thing he's got to offer. What other president would treat videos of a supporter shouting white power, a white couple aiming guns at peaceful protesters, and blacks assaulting whites? Who else other than Trump would embrace a Confederate monument, threaten to veto a defense bill that would rename military bases, call the slogan Black Lives Matter a symbol of hate, and propose to scrap an Obama-era fair housing regulation? Anyway, so he's completely tone deaf, and that's what he is. Trump, mocked Joe Biden for wearing a mask, and then he finally, this last week, wore a mask, and that took his staff pleading with him. I'm going to read some quotes to you from President Trump. The virus will vanish like a miracle. We're doing a great job. We're reopening on Easter. Hi, Susie Boffman. I'm glad you're here. Hi, Butch. I'm glad you're here. If you all wouldn't mind, please share this so we get all of our friends going. Pam is here. She'll share it, I know. Here, more Trump quotes regarding the virus. Hydroxychloroquine would be one of the biggest game changers in the history of medicine. Injecting household disinfectants into the body could kill the virus. Anyone who wants a test can get one. Stephanie Carter says the Lincoln Project PAC, Republicans against Trump, have put out some effective commercials already. In fact, they've got a great one that's just been put out about Mitch that's called Rich Mitch, and everybody needs to see that. We'll talk about Mitch here in a second. Anyway, Trump has said that he's like a panicky salesman. When you have all these tests, you've got more cases. 99% of which are totally harmless. Anyway, you get the idea that the guy is just kind of melting down. Anthony Fauci has said at the time he said it, we had about 40,000 cases a day. We've jumped up to 60,000 last week, and I think we had one day last week over 60,000. They appeared to have pulled down, by the way. I'm looking at a chart from, this is from Naked Capitalism, and they put up the Johns Hopkins charts every day. And this one is new confirmed COVID-19 cases per day in the United States is way at the top at around 60,000, and down at the bottom, well below 5,000 is China. Now, we know that China fuzzes on their figures. We know that China does that, but that's an awfully big fudging going on there, so, we'll see. Let's see who else I've got here. I want to talk a little bit about Medicare for All. I was looking for websites that had lists of progressive candidates, because I've been saying I'm the last progressive federal candidate in Kentucky. It turns out there may be another one. There's a young man or a gentleman, probably younger than me, so it's probably fair for me to say young man, in the 5th District. And I haven't looked very deeply into him, but he was on a website and listed as a progressive, and this was a blog site. And I thought, wow, I'm not listed. They don't have me listed. So I wrote an email, and I said I'm in favor of M4A, figuring that the woman running it would recognize that's Medicare for all. And she said, well, you have to not take corporate PAC money, and you have to be in favor of single-payer Medicare for all. And that kind of threw me. I responded with, I'm in favor of single-payer. And she got back with me and said, all right, great, then I'll put you on our list. At first she wasn't going to do it, but it made me realize there can be some confusion about this. There are two Medicare for all bills. One was proposed by Senator Sanders in the Senate, and another was proposed by former Congressman John Conyers. That one's in the House. There's some differences. In fact, the one in the House apparently has less. Oh, Alexandra Thomas is here. Alexandra, I'm glad you're here. Look at all these folks that are here. My comments aren't scrolling, so I'm very happy you're here. Anyway, the idea is that a single payer system is one that we fund primarily out of our taxes. So it would make your taxes go up, but it would make your other medical expenses go drastically down. So overall, there would be less out of pocket, and the idea is we would be like the rest of the developed world. So, for example, the nation of France, they spend under $5,000 per. They spend under $5,000 per person in France. They cover everyone. They have a much easier system to use because they don't have all these insurance companies you've got to negotiate with. And they live longer lives. They have lower rates of disease, lower rates of infant mortality, and so on. In the United States, we are spending in excess of $9,000. It's around $9,600 per person each year. We are something like 38th in the World Health Organization's ratings of healthcare systems. France is usually in the top 10 and is often number one. As you know, our healthcare is very expensive. It's confusing to use, and you can find yourself in a circumstance where you've got someone who's fighting for their lives in your family, and you're on the phone trying to get some attention from the insurance company. So the story that I would like for you all to look up is at Common Dreams. Finest Hundley is here. Finest, I'm so glad you're here. Do us a favor and share this. We're talking about Medicare for all, and we're going to compare it a little bit to the Affordable Care Act. Now, the Affordable Care Act is in existence, and, you know, President Trump has no real answer at the moment for the Affordable Care Act. He's trying to get the Affordable Care Act just dismissed. It's called Obamacare, so anything with Obama must be eliminated just by the nature of it. Andrew Bland is here. Andrew, I'm glad you're here. Do us a favor and share so we can keep expanding our gang here. So during the primary, Vice President Biden didn't really want to talk about this very much, but he finally had a face-to-face interview with a Medicare for All advocate named Airdate Barkan. Now, Airdate Barkan is unusual because he's dying of Lou Gehrig's disease, and there's a picture of him at Common Dreams. And he's in a wheelchair. He's got a beautiful family, you know, a wife and 2 kids, and he's wasting away. He's got something in his throat, so they had a discussion. And in the discussion, let's see if I can find these. I have to look through my papers. I don't have a staff like Jon Stewart. Jon Stewart has a staff, so when he does this, someone's typed it all up and arranged it for him. I'm my own staff. Anyway, Vice President Biden still remains steadfastly opposed to Medicare for All as a viable alternative. Now, we believe that Medicare for All is going to be less expensive than the Affordable Care Act. We believe it will allow us to cover everyone because we don't cover everyone right now. And as we've learned in the pandemic, we can't really have sick people walking around because they'll make the rest of it sick, make the rest of us sick. So Airdate Barkan says about, you know, midway through their exchange, I guess they're doing a video chat, and he says, "It's no secret that I support Medicare for all," to which Biden interjects, "I don't." Now, Joe Biden says several times he believes health care is a right, not a privilege, several times, but Barkan keeps pressing him and talks about the frustrations of dealing with our healthcare system when you're a terminally ill person here in the United States. And he says, Mr. Vice President, I hope you understand this issue is personal for me. This isn't abstract or theoretical. When I say I'm a Medicare for All advocate, I hope you understand it's because I've spent hours on hold on the telephone with insurance companies when they won't cover the cost of my care. It's because I've had to sue insurance companies when they tell me I need to pay thousands of dollars out of my own pocket. And I have a great private insurance plan. Back to that website, by the way, once I told them that I supported single payer, and I do continue to support single payer, I think that's ultimately going to be the only way we can afford it. Every other successful medical system in the world, meaning of a developed, wealthy nation like the United States, like France, like Canada, like England, like New Zealand, and so on and so on. The successful systems are what we call single payer. They get paid for out of the general fund the same way that we are all paying for the F-35. And in France, they do some other things. The French system I've studied quite a bit. They negotiate the price of drugs every year. If you're a drug company and you want to sell drugs, guess what? You've got to negotiate with the government of France. And if you come back to them, Jeff Whitman's here. Hi, Jeff. Glad you're here. Do us a favor and share. If you want to sell drugs in France, there's one purchaser. You've got to work out a deal with the nation of France. Now, it's only one purchase. You don't have to sell it 47 times. You don't have to have a distribution wing, really. You just sell it to the nation of France. So, significant savings. And we probably, I'm not sure that Harry Field is saying, wouldn't we still have supplements? I think there would be some sort of co-pay circumstance, but it wouldn't necessarily have to be supplements. Now, the way the French do it, they cover you before you're 18. When you're under 18, you're covered by your parents. Once you start working, you get enrolled in their system. And I think if you're not working, there's another way they get you enrolled. When it comes time to go get health care, you've got a card that's like a Social Security card. You present that. They treat you. You might have a small copay. I was told it could be $10 or $20 for a copay. And if you get a prescription, they can fill it, and they, again, another $5, $10, or $20 copay. If you feel you've been overcharged, that it's too expensive for you, you can apply, and they will refund some of that money. This covers you for your checkups, for your basic health care, up to a point. And then it also covers catastrophic care. And the way that it works is they have a concept called solidarity, which means the sicker you get, the less you pay. They think it's barbaric that in America, your family can lose its house or their life savings if someone in your family gets sick. They think that's barbaric, and I agree. I think we all agree with that. But the interesting thing in France is that the middle part of care is covered by insurance, and for 60 euros a month per person, you get mental, dental, vision, and hearing coverage, none of which, as far as I know, is covered by my current health care coverage. I'm not covered. I don't get that. I do have Medicare, so they might take care of me in terms of vision and hearing, but I'm not sure they will cover me if I want to go to a therapist, for example. Ellie Spawn is here. I'm glad to have you here. Ellie, do me a favor and share. Ellie and I had a great conversation last week, so I'm really glad to see her. And by the way, if you all go to the website and look at the Contract for Rural and Working America, and if you look at the downloadable printable version on the back, my phone number's there, so feel free to call and chat about that. And so anyway, at some point our nation is going to have to face facts that single payer is going to be what we have to do. And this will hopefully get rid of some of the corruption that we are facing in the United States in our healthcare system. There's tremendous corruption. For example, if you're diabetic and you need insulin, that's an off-patent drug. There's no patent on it. And it can cost you up to $1,000 a month. If you cross the border over into Canada, you can buy the very same drug in the very same packaging made by the same manufacturer, and it will be $100 a month. So this is a situation we need to address. Carl Wilson is here from sunny Southern California. Carl, I'm glad you're here. Do us a favor and share. Glad to have you. I wanted to tell you something funny about, the guy I'm running against is named Brett Guthrie. And everybody who meets him says he's a nice guy. I've met him. He's a very nice man. But most of his money comes from large corporations. something like 82% of his money comes from large corporations. So when it comes time for him to vote, he's already been paid by AT&T and Verizon. And even though 90% of us do not want net neutrality to be taken away, guess what? He voted with the big corporations who just can't wait to earn all that money. So he votes the way his money goes. It's very predictable. And you can even have a meeting with him and you'll think you've made a big difference, but then he's going to vote the way his contributors instruct him to vote. It's very transactional. You give him money, he votes the way you want. And that's the problem with our government. Now, his mentor, the person who got him his seat, and the person who he's connected to at the hip, is Mitch McConnell. Now, Mitch McConnell, when he entered our government more than 30 years ago, he didn't have a lot of money. And I think he originally a House member? In any case, he is the only Republican who gained a seat, I think, when Ronald Reagan got reelected or something like that. He's the only one. But he's really done well for himself, and that's the subject of a new ad that's done by the Lincoln Project called Rich Mitch. And they point out that Kentucky is 40th in job opportunity, and we've got a lot of drug addiction, and meanwhile, Mitch has become extremely wealthy, and he's something like the third or fourth wealthiest senator in Congress. He's got over $30 million, $34 million. Brett Guthrie entered Congress 14 years ago, I guess, or 12 years ago, with under $1 million. He had $600,000. This is according to, by the way, opensecrets.org. And the latest figure that we've seen is that he has around $7 million, but his job has been to be in Congress, and he's been earning $180,000 a year. So not quite sure how he's done that. His family has a business. Maybe he's made money from them, but I wonder how much business came to that family business because of his connections in Congress. I'm not sure where the money's coming from, and I think it's worth a look. And his connection to Mitch is certainly questionable. So, look, Democrats, we have a job to do this November, and it's very simple. I mean, hopefully we're all tired of this. Let's get this over with. Push the damn D. Push the D button, and let's get this over with. Mary Richardson says, Brett is probably thrifty. Yes, he probably is. Hi, Gina. Gina Meng is here. Gina, I'm glad you're here. Do us a favor and share. Well, I've run out of things to say at this point. You all have been so great. I had a song, Mary, almost ready that I have to learn. And one of the guys who is with us all the time, and my former high school schoolmate, Larry Schott, has written an alternative lyric for a song I know very well, and I just didn't get it together, so I'll try and get that together and play the song for you, and it's called I Can't See Your Face. So just try to imagine that. Anyway, look, folks, even though President Trump is on the ropes, and he appears to, I mean, the news today is that suddenly Texas is a swing state, that Joe Biden is +5 in Texas. This is unbelievable. It's not completely unprecedented. And Republicans are still standing by him. They kind of don't have a choice, I guess. I mean, Brett Guthrie is going to stand by Donald Trump till the very, very end. And I hope it costs him his job because, believe me, I believe I would do a better job looking out for the people of Kentucky more than for the corporations that pay Brett Guthrie. And look, I've got to tell you something else. So there we go. We've got a summary from Stephanie Carta, members of Congress summary, Brett Guthrie. Excellent. You know, when you become a congressperson, you are going to attract money. Hildegard Pyle is here. Hildegard is the leader of the Democratic Party in Breckinridge County. And Hildegard, do us a favor and share. Rod Seidley is here. I'm glad you're here. Hi, everybody. Do us a favor and share. Well, one of the problems is if you start to attract corporate money, that must be very difficult to turn down. And to simply say no to a corporation who's offering you $10,000 or $20,000 to contribute to your campaign is difficult. And I already know the answer I'm going to give, which is I'll say, look, your officers, anyone in your company, any human being that's in your company can contribute as an individual to my campaign. But let's take that money you were going to contribute to me or to Brett if he were still here. Let's do that and have you apply that to a specific project, a specific need inside the 2nd District. So for example, perhaps you could help an after-school program in Bowling Green that helps kids with art, for example, in Bowling Green, or a similar program in Bardstown where we help addicts. Perhaps we help people who have been addicted to drugs, and we help get them off those drugs and fund that. So that's the way we could then make these corporations, rather than feeling like they expect something from me in particular, it connects them to our community. And I think that's the way forward. Corporations aren't evil. They are not evil. With exceptions, there are some very bad behaviors. Mark Bookin is here. I'm so glad you're here, Mark. Do us a favor and share. But there are some that are evil. But again, if you're a corporation, if the way it's done is you pay off your congressman and you help get him elected, they're going to all play the game. I think they would prefer to invest in the communities they're doing business in, and I think that would build incredible goodwill for a company. If Dollar General Store, instead of contributing to me or Brett, contributed to swimming pools, or contributed to after-school education. There's so many ways that we could use corporations, use their money instead of using it to purchase Congress, to help the people that live in the district. We got a lot of things we've got to deal with. We've got to decide how we're going to save our planet, to leave the earth in good enough condition that our children and our grandchildren can have a life worth living on a planet that's healthy and safe for them. We've got so much to do. It means we have a lot of opportunities. So let's work on that. I'm running this year. Always I can use a little bit of help. If you can sling $1 at me, the website is hank4ky.com. If you can send some money to me, ideally people who contribute, as there's folks who are doing once a month. That's very, very helpful. We're very efficient with the campaign because we have a lot of folks who are volunteering, and that's making a tremendous difference. Also, if you want to volunteer for the campaign, you can reach out to us at the website as well. There's email addresses. Get your copy of the Contract for Rural America. Look at it. Share it with some friends. Here we go. It's a beautiful day, and I'm so glad you're here. Take care of yourselves. By the way, be very careful this next several weeks. I think we're on the edge of the virus really exploding if we don't take care of ourselves. So when you go out, wear a mask. When you're around other people, wear a mask. Wash your hands. Be careful. All right. I love you all, and I'll see you tomorrow at 3:30 Central. All right. Take care.